Jangan lupa like, comment, and subscribe.
Minion's Rise of Guru. Spoilers ahead. Relax and enjoy. The movie begins in 1976. A supervillain called Bell Bottom rides her bike through the city as the cops chases after her because she stole a map. After she defeated the cops, Belle is able to make it to her hideout at the Criminal Records music shop. There, she joins the rest of her gangs called the Vicious Six, which includes Stronghold, Nunchuck, Svengeance, Jean-Claude, and their founder, Wild Knuckles. They go through the map to find out that it contains the location to an artifact called the Zodiac Stone, which turns the users into powerful animals during the Chinese New Year. The Vicious Six fly to an island where the stone is located. The leader, Wild Knuckles, then quickly infiltrated the temple and finally finds the Zodiac Stone, but he is attacked by small metal guardians. He fights them off and escapes out of the temple, only to find more guardians chasing after him. The rest of the Vicious Six pulls Knuckles up, but as they take the stone from him, they double-cross him, saying that he is too old for the team. They drop Knuckles into the ocean and fly off. On the other hand, an 11-year-old boy called Gru dreams of becoming a supervillain, which makes the other kids in his class to make fun of him because they think he's a weirdo. He gets picked by 3 of his minions called Kevin, Bob, and Stuart. As they arrive home, Gru finds invitation in his mailbox. He opens it and sees a message from Bell Bottom, as Gru had been sending many applications to join the Vicious Six since he is their biggest fan, and Knuckles is his favorite villain. Bell invites Gru to come for an audition at the Criminal Records shop. Gru is so excited and believes his dreams as a supervillain is finally coming to pass. Gru lives with his unsupported mother, Marlena, and as well as the rest of the minions that he has employed as his henchmen. Gru announces the big news to the minions, who all support their mini-boss, though he hates when they call him that. It turns out that Wild Knuckles is still alive, as he is living at home with 3 of his own henchmen. He is really angry at the Vicious Six for kicking him out of his own team, and he discovers that they are holding auditions for a new member. The next day, Gru arrives at Criminal Records and meets A with a scientist called Dr. Nefario. He shows Gru one of his new inventions, a gun that shoots out a sticky green hand to grab things. Nefario offers it to Gru and shows him the secret entrance to the Vicious Six hideout. Gru meets with them, but they dismisses him for being a kid, as Jean-Claude thought he was just a dwarf when they reviewed Chuck to knock each other out, and as Bell and Svengeance tries to catch onto Gru's bike. He uses his rocket to speed up, making them to escape. Meanwhile, Knuckles sees through the whole thing and follows Gru in his van. As Gru arrives back home, he and the other minions waits for Otto, who is with the Zodiac Stone, to arrive. When Otto finally arrives, he presents Gru with a rock with googly eyes instead of the stone. Otto explains that he ended up going through a lot of accidents until he ended up at a birthday party and traded the birthday boy the stone in exchange for the pet rock. Gru is so angry for what Otto did, and he promptly fires all the minions. He goes off on his own to go find the stone, but as he goes down the street, Knuckles' henchmen kidnaps him and throw him in their van, which Kevin watches. Kelvin hurries back to tell the other minions that their mini-boss has been kidnapped. Gru is taken to Wild Knuckles' hideout. Gru is so joyful to meet his idol, but Knuckles is furious to find that Gru doesn't have the stone. He calls Gru's home to try and get a ransom from his mom, but Kevin picks the call. Knuckles tells him to deliver the stone to San Francisco within 2 days' time, or they will kill Gru. Kevin, Stuart, Bob, and Otto immediately goes to the house of the kid that Otto gave the stone to. The kid informs them that he gave it to his uncle a while ago, who is already moving out on his motorcycle. Otto chases after him on a tricycle, while the other 3 minions sees a bus going to San Francisco and follows it. They arrive at the airport and pretend to be pilots, while the other one pretends to be a flight attendant. Kevin and Stuart try to fly and end up touching the wrong buttons, creating a mess before they manage to landing safely. On the other hand, Knuckles places Gru on a torture device, which is a record player that will push him closer to spinning saw blades. He instructs his henchmen to go out, and they find the minions. The henchman tries to capture them, thinking the stone is in their possession, and they end up in Chinatown, where an acupuncturist called Master Chow sees the henchmen beating up the minions. Despite being an old lady, Chow displays spectacular kung fu skills and defeats the henchmen. The minions is impressed and begs Chow to teach them her skills, but she tells them that she has retired from that life. However, when the minions flash their cute puppy eyes at her, she couldn't resist and agrees. The henchmen quit on Knuckles after their failed mission. Knuckles later frees Gru from the torture device and makes him do his house chores. While cleaning his pool full of crocodiles, Knuckles falls in Gru quickly pulls him out and rescues him in time, and Knuckles is really grateful. He takes Gru along on a heist. They go to the Bank of Evil, disguising themselves as grandfather and grandson. Knuckles pretends to have a heart attack, so Gru can use the distraction to steal the keys of Mr. Perkins. Gru successfully steals the Mona Lisa, making Knuckles really impressed. On the other hand, Otto rides across many cities on his tricycle to catch up to the biker, but he loses trace of him. The biker ends up seeing Otto and picks him up, carrying him along to San Francisco on his bike and handing the stone over to him. Meanwhile, Chow trains the minions in martial arts, but they just end up harming themselves more than they do any learning. The minions swiftly manage to step up their skills, but Chow tells them that they only passed basic training. Unfortunately, the minions are long gone to save Gru. The Vicious Six later arrives at Gru's house, tearing the roof off. They interrogate Marlena and the other minions about Gru's whereabouts. One of the minions mistakenly reveals that Gru is with Knuckles. The Six then goes to Knuckles' house, also tear the top off, destroying the whole place and finding nothing. When Gru and Knuckles return, they find his home destroyed. He believes it was the Vicious Six that did this, and he really becomes devastated that they would continue to try and hurt him after all this time. He tells Gru he is giving up, and as Gru tries to motivate him to fight back, he just tells him to go home, despite Gru's protests. Downtown, a Chinese New Year parade is going on. Otto joins the crowd in the celebration. Gru sees him in the crowd and runs after him. Otto shows Gru the stone, and he is so happy and they both reconcile. Unfortunately, the Vicious Six have apprehended them, and they capture Gru. Just as the cops arrive and are surrounding them, Belle takes the stone and utilizes its powers to turn her and the team into giant animal monsters. Belle transforms to a fire-breathing dragon, Stronghold transforms to a bull, Nunchuck transforms to a snake, Vengeance becomes a tiger, and Jean-Claude transforms to a huge monkey. They capture Gru and tie him to the hands of a clock tower, which will tear him apart slowly. Knuckles then suddenly arrives to save Gru, along with Kevin, Stuart, and Bob. Belle then turns the three of them into a rabbit, a chicken, and a ram. Although Knuckles is a really skillful fighter, Belle takes him out with her fire breath. The three remembers what Chow's taught them, and unleash their inner beasts, and they goes off to beat up the mutated Vicious Six. Otto rescues Gru, and he hurries to help the others in the fight. The three minions overpower the Six, and Gru takes the stone, using it to transform them all into rats. The cops then later arrives and takes them into custody. Knuckles is badly injured and is also taken into custody, though he tells Gru that he will see him again soon. Cut to a funeral, where it looks as if Knuckles has died. Gru gives him a touching farewell, only to find that Knuckles faked his death and is hiding. Gru later joins his idol, and they drove off into the sunset with the rest of the minions. Thank you for watching, guys. If you love animation movies, please